suspend the rules and we. All right. So today is August 18th, it's at 6:02, and I will call to order the Budget and Finance Committee meeting. And the first thing on the agenda is public comment. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, then we'll go on to the next thing with discussion. So we have two guests tonight with us. A discussion about Bridgewater's pension plan. Sandra Wright, the Plymouth County Commissioner, and Thomas O'Brien, Plymouth County Treasurer. Thank you guys both for coming here.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us.
So, Councilwoman, can we suspend the rules so the Finance Committee too can ask questions?
I'll make a motion that we suspend our rules.
All right, I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Judy, you guys want to start off with any questions? What we do? I hope you guys got all the material that we, Laurie sent out. You want to start?
We received the materials. I think perhaps the best way for us to proceed, since we don't have
I'm here.
quorum. Oh, awesome! Thank you. Our chairwoman is there.
This is Dana. I'll be in person in like 2 minutes.
Okay.
You
But
want
I'm
to call your meeting to order since you're on the phone?
yes, I can. Do we have quorum?
Yes.
Okay. It is 6:05, and I'd like to call the Town of Bridgewater Finance Committee meeting to order.
Okay.
So there's a couple questions. So, for me, the payroll, 34% and increases to 41 to get to a certain amount. They're off the pension. Did I do that right?
I'm not sure in terms of the payroll.
Okay.
Maybe I could just do a quick overview
Okay, that was
and then we can answer some questions particularly.
okay.
And first of all, thanks for having us. One of the frustrations that Commissioner Wright and I have are when people don't ask questions. So glad that you took the time to reach out. And we were chatting a little bit earlier as we were sitting here about the challenges that Bridgewater faces, and sometimes towns feel alone, but rest assured, you're not alone. All of the towns across the Commonwealth of Mass, and really the country, are feeling some of the same challenges. I had a chance to look through some of what you're dealing with. I think you guys are doing a very admirable job with your budget. You're making a lot of hard choices, but they're good fiscal decisions, which is helpful long term. Before I talk about the pension system, however, I just have to give a shout out to the Bridgewater Little League team.
Oh, yeah.
Those who know me for a long time know I'm a huge baseball fan.
Absolutely.
I'm an avid aficionado of the Little League baseball. I think they do a great job. Thrilled to see a Plymouth County town down in Williamsport. Some of you may know that I used to be a state representative. And when I was first elected as a state rep, my territory was Middleborough. The Middleborough Little League went to Williamsport. So I'm excited that Bridgewater is there now. So a shout out to the coaches and the team there. And I hope they go all the way. Rest assured I'll be watching. I may have to videotape some of the games, but very much hoping they have a lot of success.
And I'll add, he's also an Eagles fan.
I am. I am. So the challenges that I wanted to chat about are the fixed costs that you guys have. There's a lot we could focus in on, but you guys wanted to talk to me about pensions. We want to talk healthcare. I'd like to talk about that too, but we could maybe have another meeting. I know we're time sensitive, so we're going to lock in on pensions today, but understand there are a lot of issues out there at play and things that you may want to discuss and that we may be helpful. Also, Plymouth County runs a number of programs. Love to talk to you about those. You folks take advantage of most of them. About 80% of them. There may be some that you could take further advantage of that may save you some money. But that's a conversation for later. As you know, Bridgewater is part of the Plymouth County Retirement Association, which has 52 members, 52 member units. And the goal of the Plymouth County Retirement Association essentially is to fund the pensions for all of its members, which are public employees in the 52 units, and to fund them fully so that should everybody retire all at once, we'll have enough money to pay. That's a pretty big goal, a pretty big objective. And that goal and objective came into law in the 1980s. And a lot of people don't realize that essentially what we're doing today is largely paying for the costs of the past. Some people inadvertently say sins of the past. That's not fair. They're costs of the past. Up until the 80s, predominantly every retirement system in the country was on a pay-as-you-go system and just paying the cost for that year. However, legislation came down the pike and said, no, what you really need to do is cover that cost so that should people need that money, it's available and set aside. So everyone then had the objective via statute to become fully funded. You may or may not know that the original goal was to be fully funded by 2028. So imagine back 40 years ago, the goal was be funded 2028. And in fact, most of the pension systems were on track to be funded by 2028. In fact, I'm pleased to report that for a while, the Plymouth County Retirement Association was on track to be funded by 2023. Our performance has been excellent. I have some performance data I'd love to share with you. We have exceeded expectations. We have outperformed most of our metrics. We are recognized around the country as one of the top performing funds in the country. Frequently, we're in the top 25%. More recently, we've been in the top decile. We are even outperforming the state fund, which is amazing to me because that's $100 billion operation and we're much smaller. But I like to think we're very good at what we do. So you're getting a good return on your money. You'll recall, however, that we had the fiscal crisis in 07 and 08. That fiscal crisis hit in the legislature, and its infinite wisdom said that all of the pension systems could, if they want, extend from 2028 out to 2030. I make note of the fact that the day the legislature passed that legislation, the state fund itself voted to go out to 2030. So a little bit aggressive on their part, but they did it that very day. Things didn't improve as much as people had hoped. And a year later, they allowed systems to go up to 2040 if they wanted to. Very few systems went out that far. You're really just kicking the can down the road. It's never a good idea to do that if you can avoid it. However, because the costs were again so significant at the time, if you didn't go out a little bit, Plymouth County did agree to go out to 2028. So that had been our benchmark for a long period of time, up until fairly recent. Now, despite our performance, we've had some pretty, I don't know how you would describe our assumptions, but any valuation report that's done by an actuary is based on assumptions. And we've used assumptions that were less aggressive. For example, we assumed over a period of time, the average payroll increase in communities would be between 2.5% and 3%. However, the communities in our membership group have exceeded that pretty significantly. There have been other payroll assumptions that we've adopted that the towns, all of them collectively, or most of them, have exceeded much more than we thought they would. And so that threw our assumptions out of whack. The other assumption that we made that had a challenge that we had to deal with was on the mortality tables. So we adopted a mortality table back in the 1890s that was accepted for a long period of time. Those mortality tables changed. We resisted changing to the newer mortality tables because we knew it would cost money and we weren't sure that they would hold up long term. However, those tables changed and our actuary 2 years ago said, no, you have to adopt the mortality table. That came with some cost. And in order to help defray the cost of adopting the new assumption, the new mortality table, we did extend our funding schedule out again to 2029.
So that's how long people will live.
That's exactly how long people will live, yes.
So
So,
if they retire, we have to pay longer,
correct,
but before they used to die earlier.
correct.
I just wanted to be clear.
You understand it perfectly. Now, what's interesting is that with the pandemic came a new mortality table. Now, you would have thought that that new mortality table may have suggested that lifespan, wouldn't be as long, but it suggested just the opposite, that with changes in trend in healthcare, lifespan was going to be longer. And so as we're dealing with the evaluation reports, we've had to face the fact that there's another new mortality table that people are asking us to adopt. Every 2 years, we do a valuation report of the entire system. The last valuation report, which I see some of you have a copy of, was done effective January 1st, 2024. So the next one that we are required to do was as of January 1st, 2026. But you can imagine to collect the data as of that date, you need a number of months to go by so you have all the right information, have all the payroll information. And so usually we, the Retirement Association and the Retirement Board, visit that in the April-May timeframe. We bring in our actuary. We say, okay, go through all the assumptions with us. go through everything that we need to do and make a determination as to what that valuation report is going to be. Now, let me backtrack a little bit. In 2014, we did this and we did a round of reach out to our communities. And in 2014, when we adopted a valuation report at that time, we said to our communities, we're going to adopt a valuation report that is likely going to see 8.5% increases in your retirement assessment for the foreseeable future. And we asked communities to begin to plan for that, to expect in their budget 8.5% over each of the next years as we tried to get to the full funding date that we had anticipated. I will tell you, Bridgewater's done a fairly good job of staying within that range. If you are a community that hired above our assumptions, your increase was a little more than 8.5%. If you're a community that stayed within those assumptions, a little bit less, your assessment went up a little less than 8.5%. You folks know, because you had a very grueling budget session, that last year your assessment went up a little over 7.75, I think. So that means you're under our assessments. You're being very fiscally responsible and living within your means. So that's a very good sign. The challenge is we got our valuation report as of 1/1/26, and there were some difficulties that we had to face and challenges that we had to face in order to make a decision as to what we were going to do going forward. The first was the mortality table. We were told by our new actuary, we had to hire a new actuary because the one we had retired, that we had to adopt another mortality table. She was also fairly blunt that the assumptions we had undertaken historically were too liberal for our communities, that we were not aggressive enough, and that we should have used more aggressive assumptions, which would have required more contributions earlier and wouldn't have been in a position where we would be facing higher increases down the road. And so one of the challenges we had to do was weigh getting funded by a date certain. And it's very important that we get to that funding date, because once we do, your costs drop dramatically, significantly. Your costs drop to normal costs. So in fact, if you have that report, and I did it all on one page to save paper. This is just Bridgewater. So this is the 1/1/24 report. The 1/20/26 isn't available quite yet because our actuary is still working on it. You'll see that your assessment for FY27 was 7,113,743. Look down the bottom. But if you pay early, and you folks did, and by pay early, I mean you make one big payment effective July 1, you get that discount. And so for you folks got that discount. Discount is a little more than 1%. However, once we are fully funded, that net obligation drops to the normal cost. So instead of paying 7,113,743, once we are fully funded, Bridgewater's cost for the future would be the 1.7 up there under normal cost. So you will be saving a little more than $5 million a year once we're fully funded.
How do you think, how long, if we keep going on this, how many years would we be about 7?
So we were expecting to be fully funded by 2031. However, with the new valuation report, we had to push it out to 2032.
Okay.
So we will be fully funded by 2032. In doing so, we had to adjust our increases. And so the average increase over that time is now going to be 9.5%. From now until 2032.
What was it?
It was 8.5. However, I remind people, if you adopt the pay early approach, you save that 1% and it could be 8.5. So if you continue the program that you've done, if we can get to 32 without having to extend the funding table any further, then that cost drops dramatically. And you folks will have some savings in your budget to begin to address other costs and other needs that you have. A lot of communities are planning on taking some portion of that and applying it to the OPEB liability that they have. That's something else I'd love to talk about, because you folks have adopted the Plum County OPEB Trust. It's been hugely successful for you. In fact, your return over 3 years annualized has been 16.99%. That means each year. Oh yeah, we can hand that out if you wanted to. I'm trying to stay on pensions, but they all tie
Oh,
in.
no, because we have, it would be nice just to hit on the insurance too,
Okay,
because is that separate from our pension?
it is. It is. And a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah.
Sandy's good handle. This is just your report for the town of Bridgewater for your investment in the Plymouth County OPEB Trust. As of the end of May, you guys get this report every month. But you can see if you look down.
That's going on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's good.
I'll just, you want to look at the investment wealth. The nice thing to look at is up top, you folks have $1,955,048.52 in your OPEB trust. That's very good. Thank you for being a member. But you can see you guys joined us 1/25/2022. And over that period of time, you've earned 16.99% annualized.
I trust with like stocks.
It is. Yes. Yes. We're pretty proud of what we do. That'd be a topic for another time.
Okay.
It's a creation of the Plymouth County Commissioners. It's a multi-employer trust. We do authorize other governmental entities in Barnstable, Bristol, and Norfolk County to join if they like. We don't advertise. However, when we opened up and created this OPEB trust on January 15, 2015, we expected by 2025, we'd have 10 members and probably about 25 million in assets under management. We're actually at 37 members and 78 million in assets under management, largely because our performance has been so good. Sandy?
Do you send this out to the town treasurers every
Yeah.
month? I thought
Every
so.
month.
I've been telling everybody that you send it.
So
Yes.
what do we use this money for?
So this is in a trust and it's for employee retirement costs. Their health insurance. Health insurance costs. And that is all it can be used for. And a lot of communities are either doing it on their own, I should say a number are doing it on their own. A few of them are with private companies and doing it that way. There's no right way. I can say this, the two public options you have are either to join us or to join the Brit Fund. Those have performed better over a period of time, largely because their fees are lower. And their fees are lower because we don't have any overhead. We don't have any brick and mortar. We don't have any employees. We consult out and we have very good consultants, but that helps us keep our fees down.
Are these just active employees?
No, so they're for retired.
This is one time.
Other post-employment benefits, OPEB. This is an OPEB trust. You folks voted to join us. And in joining us, you get all of our documents. You are a certified Section 5 trust under the IRS. We take care of all the paperwork. The nice advantage of joining us too is we provide resources to your team, administrative and staff, and audit support so that they don't have to do any of that work. If you get any question about this trust, you send it to us and we provide the answer. The only other thing I wanted to hand out in terms of the pension was just a quick performance look at our performance as the Plymouth County Retirement Association. And we only have one color printer in our office. We had to make sure.
We're not allowed to call it on the school, so it's, this is fun.
So this is through June, and this is a comparison of the Plymouth County Retirement Association, PCRA, with PRIT, which is the state fund. So you can see the PRIT fund is $129 billion. We're not quite there yet, although we are the 5th largest pension system in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. You can see in the 1 month period, we outperformed PRIT by 97 basis points. On a calendar year, we outperformed PRIT by 340 basis points. In a 1 year, we outperformed PRIT by 380 basis points. And you can see 3 year, 5 year, 10 year, and our since inception number is 8.59%. Again, one of the best in the country. We're pretty pleased with this performance. Now, admittedly, this is a snapshot, but the fact that we outperform over all of those time periods is a fairly impressive track record, one we're pretty proud of. We've been recognized by the Wall Street Journal and others for our performance. So the good news is your pension money is doing very well. It is in good hands. The performance is better than expected. The challenge is that we have new mortality tables and assumptions we have to undertake. And so therefore, we have a new valuation for coming out. It'll be out hopefully within the next 60 days or so. And that'll give you our assessment for FY 28 and FY 29. But you can expect it'll be roughly 9.5% more. Actually, I apologize, 9.75%. More. Yes, I covered a lot of ground very quickly because I'm on time constraint.
No,
You can stay longer with the,
I appreciate that.
unfortunately.
How often, I noticed the target allocation range here, how often do you revisit sort of the makeup of the portfolio?
Every month.
Okay.
So we meet once a month regularly. We bring in our consultant and we review it every month. That's again one of the reasons I think we're pretty successful. We also have our own internal CIO, Chief Investment Officer. We're one of the few that does that. That gives us a counterbalance against our consultants because sometimes our consultants aren't always right. And it's nice to have an internal employee we pay to be a counterweight against some of their recommendations.
Are you looking at any industry standards for best practice in terms of the makeup of like risk in the investment portfolio?
Always. What's great about our portfolio is not only do we have this performance, but our risk, our Sharpe ratio is very low. In fact, we received recognition on how low our risk is compared to our return. That's hard to do. I think the reason we've done it is we were early adopters of infrastructure. Infrastructure is a very good long-term investment because you're investing in toll roads and airports, and we're part owners of the Heathrow Airport. We own some roads in Australia, and they pay pretty well because people have to use them. They're very good about paying on time, and that money comes back to cover our employees. We were also very early adopters of exchange traded funds, driving down fees, not paying the higher fees. The other advantage of having an internal consultant is we task him regularly to go after the fees and to renegotiate, I wouldn't say monthly, but twice a year, the fees that we pay. So our fees are pretty low.
May I ask a question?
Sure, well, I suspend the rules.
I can wait till after. It's okay. I don't want to bother you guys.
No,
Maybe suspend the rules.
yeah, we suspended the
We
rules.
suspended.
Yeah, before you guys came, we suspended the rules just so people can ask whatever
Because before you
questions.
were here, we your members to be.
Yes.
involved, So they're still suspended.
Mr. Norris.
Thank you. I'm just wondering on the real estate section, is that in your REITs or is that actual real estate owned under assets?
So this is how Pritt does it. Our number is the only one at the bottom. We have both REITs and real estate assets. One of the real estate assets we actually own is our own building. So we bought our building because we were tired of paying rent. It turned out to be a very good investment because the building we bought at 60 Industrial Park came with a warehouse, which we promptly sold. So we reduced the cost of our buy-in by selling part of the asset we bought, and we have offices. If you have a chance, please come and visit us at 60 Industrial Park Road. We try to make it convenient for our retirees because that's largely who we're serving. We're serving our retiree population, about 8,000 retirees that we provide a pension for. And just so people know, because I think unfortunately public employees get a bad rap when people are talking about pensions. Two important facts. One, the average pension for retirees in Plymouth County is $26,000 a year. I challenge any of us to try and live on $26,000 a year. That's their average pension.
Sounds like Social Security.
That's their yearly pension. And many of them were not eligible to Social Security
Right,
until the passage of the Social Security Fairness Act.
right.
The other thing to note is any public employee in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts hired after April 1st, 1996, is paying for their own pension. They're paying 11% of their salary, 9+2. And the actuarial assessment is you only need to pay 10% to cover the cost. So the reason it's 9+2 is because we have to cover the cost of all those employees that didn't contribute into that system so we can earn enough money to cover those costs, coupled with the contributions our member units make. So again, we're scheduled to be there by 2032. We're going to try and stay to that. The board has been very good about saying, listen, the light is at the end of the tunnel. We need to try and get there. There were a few communities that asked us to look at extending it out even further. We did look at that. The cost of kicking the can down the road is pretty significant. It adds millions to hundreds of millions of dollars to the total cost, which we wanted to avoid. So we'd much rather say to our communities, listen, well, hang in there. 9.75 will be the increase of budget for it. There's a number. Take advantage of the prepayment. That drops it down. And if we can get to 2032, your cost is going to drop exponentially and free up some cash to do some of the things that all of our towns need and want to do.
So I have a question on this one. Because it says the following is a 30-year forecast of benefits, payments, net of state reimbursable COLA payments. Did the state reimburses us about something?
No, they don't unfortunately. But that is net of any COLA increase that we vote. So we, the Plymouth County Retirement Association, have voted a COLA on the first $18,000. So that people will get that COLA on an annual basis. Those numbers aren't factored into that table because it's too variable from each of the different systems. But we don't get reimbursed anything.
Oh,
Our total performance is our total performance.
all right, thank you.
The good news is money we make,
Yeah.
although we do pay out to retirees. So we have a pretty sizable payroll every month out to our retirees. And we send that out, it's in that report. So the report already has is a complete report. I only printed the one page for Bridgewater because most communities are focused in on their data.
Laurie did send us all this.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's all available online, although I will say I am not a big fan of our website. You have to actually go up to about in the upper right corner and click on that and see. Then there's a whole drag down menu. You see reports and they're all there. But all our annual reports, our financial reports, our audits, everything is available there for anybody to look at. We're transparent if you can figure out our website.
Yeah. That's sure.
I mean, it's very frustrating to me, but you get there. Some of our older members get challenged by that, and I agree with them. You should have something where it's very easy. For one thing, we do make easier our forms. So if they have to fill out forms, you put that easy. There are a lot of nuances here. I really skipped over a lot of stuff just to try and hit the 10,000 foot level. Again, I think Bridgewater, having looked at all that you guys are doing, you've made some of the hard decisions. Some of the other towns are now feeling the effects of not having made some of those hard decisions. You're realizing that these are costs that you need to factor in and budget. You're planning out 5 years, 10 years, which is great. It amazes me how many of our communities don't do that. They plan from year to year, maybe look out 2 years, but you really need to look out 5 years. And what we can tell you with health insurance, I mean, with retirement is, hey, for the next 5 years, plan 9.75, get a little lower if you make that prepayment. I'd love to talk about health insurance too.
I would-
Kind of weave in.
Yeah, I like to talk because, I mean, I think if I read it right, our town contributes 110,000 annually beyond the pay as you go. So that's what we have to put in for health insurance.
When you say,
The net OBET liability was determined to be, and, assuming that we get a discount rate, it's at 5.97. So we put pension and then we have to pay for the health insurance.
so that's separate, unfortunately. You have your pension.
Yeah.
And you have your health insurance, then you have OPEB. So OPEB is your retiree health insurance cost. That's, you guys are invested in PTRA.
Okay,
So this is covering that. You get to decide what you put into this.
okay.
We encourage as much as you can, but I have a strategy that we'll talk about when it comes to retirement as well. Because there is a way to drive down your retirement cost, and that's pre-funding. And you can do that at any point in time. I recommend that if you're going to make a pre-funding contribution, you do it in December. The reason you do it in December is you get the full credit of that. The calendar year is we're a calendar year operation. So if you give us a contribution in December, you get the full year benefit of having given that pre-funding. So if you are looking at driving down fixed costs, one of the things you can do is pre-fund pension. I will say to the credit to the county, one of the things we've done, and we have a very small budget. We've pre-funded our pension over the last 11 years to the tune of about $9 million. That's driving down our costs. So we're not going to see the 9.75. We're going to see much lower because we pre-funded. But given the fact that there are still 5 years left in that, pre-funding even 100,000, 200, 500,000 will in fact drive down that cost in the later years.
Do many towns take bond loans to pay their pension up front? It would save them money or not?
So ironically, it probably would, but they don't do it. So there's something called the pension obligation bond, and there have been a few that have been authorized in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And that's where you go to the street and put out a bond for the total cost of your obligation. So Bridgewater's obligation as of 1/1/24, and I'd suggest you wait to the 1/1/26. But your obligation, there is $38,885,978. Here's the good news. We tell you what it is. You know, you can plan. It's health insurance, the whole everything. Here, you know what the number is. You know what's coming down the pike. We'll tell you 9.75 into the next 5 years. So lots of room to plan. So that is the total liability. You can begin to pre-fund that if you want, by paying directly into the system. And I forgot the rest of the second part of your question.
The bonds, do they take out bonds?
So you could go out and say, okay, I want to borrow that amount of money and pay it to us. Then that reduces your cost back to the normal cost. Can't do that without legislative approval. Now, I will tell you, Plymouth County, when filed legislation, when interest rates were at 2 and 3%, we got the House. So some of you may or may not know, I used to be a state representative, did that for 10 years. I was able to convince my House colleagues to let us do a pension obligation bond. When we went over to the Senate, the governor was not a big fan of it, Governor Baker at the time. And he wasn't a fan of it because he was afraid that it would lock in a payment and you wouldn't have the flexibility of extending out the funding chain. I think with interest rates so low, that was a specious concern, but the Senate put in a poison pill, so we had to kill that piece of legislation. Other towns have tried to do it, but the legislature is not a big fan of it and has not allowed it. They do allow some big cities to have done it. Brockton did it, but that's because they had legislation passed in 2006. So they were allowed to do a pension obligation bond. Quite candidly, the better thing to do is just pre-fund. It's a better effect because you're guaranteed to be earning our rate of return, which is better than at the bank. So pre-fund. When we had that conversation in 2014, 2 communities did begin to pre-fund, Wareham and Carver. Although regrettably, they're kicking themselves, they stopped. But they pre-funded, I think one pre-funded 50,000, one 250,000. But that drives down the cost because that 250,000 is now worth $1.7 million.
Bridgewater talked about a few times using the discount, paying, budgeting for the full amount and then taking the discount, prepaying it.
And prepaying the difference.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's like, the last few years we budget the payment with the discount, right?
Yeah.
So, but there has been discussion among former councils.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's certainly one way to do it. Ironically, some of our smaller units budget the higher number and forget about it and pay the higher number. And then we call them, they say, well, let it count as a prepayment. So we do. So we have some housing authorities that have made prepayments small. But it definitely does.
It's like prepaying your mortgage.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's like repaying your mortgage. Exactly. Which is why we're leery of kicking in on the road. Lastly, we'll just talk briefly about health insurance real quick. So the good news is you folks are members of the Mayflower Municipal Health Group. It's one of the best things that you have that you've never heard about unless you've used it. And if you've used it recently and people wonder how you have such good health insurance, it's because you're part of a nimble group that has done a very good job of planning for the future. You know that health insurance rates have gone up, average since 2022, and some of you ahead of me and have turned over. Average increases have been 10% annually across the country. Here in New England, they've been 13% annually since FY 2022. However, as the Mayflower Group, you can see our increases have been much less. The reason we've been able to do that is we built up a bit of a trust fund, and we use that trust fund to stabilize rates over the course of the last 5 years. We've been doing that and continue to do that. This year, across the country, increases were 17 to 20%. Regrettably, we did have to go to 10%, but it was about half of what everybody else is paying. And our insurance, if you stack it against what else is out there, is better. So that begs the question, how do we do that? How are we providing better insurance for a cheaper cost? And quite candidly, our secret sauce is the administration of that. I like to say it's because you have a great treasurer. And while that may be true, it's not the secret sauce. The secret sauce is the team that we have that is a Plymouth County team that administers this program. So we have people internally that are watching our 2 plan sponsors, Blue Cross Blue Shield and Point 132, formerly Harvard Community Health Plan. No other joint purchase group has that. We're the only ones. And that drives millions of dollars back to us because we constantly catch mistakes. I like to think of them as mistakes. I don't believe they're intentional, but those providers make, and we get that money back. Hey, you shouldn't have billed us this $400,000. Oh, you're right. You get the money back. Now that's a quick explanation. It's a lot harder than that. It takes a lot of time and effort. But if you've had any dealing with our administration team led by Sheila Avery, you'll know that They're one of the best. We also have a consultant, Lockton. We like them because they're a smaller firm. They're pretty aggressive about how we can continue to do things to drive down costs. So you're in a really good health plan. The question that you folks would have, because you guys are finance focused, what should you budget for next year? I would suggest, because again, national average is looking at about 12. I think you can safely budget about 10, and we're hoping to be under that. But you know, you'll still be below national averages with us. We're trending very well. We're making some of the decisions that others are having to make, particularly about GLP-1s and that conversation. But we're doing our best to keep costs down by prime, also providing very excellent health. And our plans are very good.
As the Bridgewater Rain Regional School District, I want to make sure you guys.
They have not, but they should.
Yes, that, you asked that the last time.
I don't.
So the list of our members is on the front page. I will tell you, 2 new groups came in this year. The town of Situate joined us, and well, actually, they were last year. I apologize. This year, Lakeville. Is Lakeville last year? No, they're not on the list yet. Lakeville and Old Rochester Regions.
I think they have to form a PEC before they can change their insurance.
So they don't
We've asked them
have
for
to.
3 years.
They don't have to.
They don't have to.
Okay.
They can. They don't have to.
Okay.
Here's what's amazing, and I certainly challenge people to do this. Our plans are probably cheaper than what they have right now.
I mean, they're self-insured, so.
Yes, but our plans are probably cheaper.
Well, right, but because they're a smaller purchasing group, they're at risk.
Right, it has to be higher.
Right.
Right.
So I think like it would be looking at you, the GIC or Maya, like the 3 public options.
Yeah, for the most part. Yes. Yeah. All of them good options. Around here, I think we're the best option. Not only are we reasonably priced, I've heard some horror stories about the GIC. I can't imagine they're all true, but some of them probably are. Maya rates you on your own experience. I don't think for a small group that's a good decision at all. I think it's too risky, but that's their choice. We now are setting up a process for people to join. People have our secret is out. If people are anxious to join the Mayflower group, we have 4 people applying right now to join for next year. Only 2 of them will probably get to the point of giving us all the data. But if you do know a municipality, governmental entity, tell them to reach out to me or to us.
What's your timeline for joining? Like, are there specific deadlines
There
that
are.
folks have to meet?
Yeah, so you'd want to begin now. We have some paperwork you have to fill out. It's 1 page, so not that hard. We then have to look at claims data. We like to be able to make a decision in the December, January timeframe because we'll be bringing them in as of July 1. Also, you'll hear this, there's a buy-in because we have a trust fund. You have to pay to come in, but you've got to buy your share of the trust because we've got to protect Bridgewater because they're already in. However, what we found is that all of the members joining us pay the buy-in by keeping the rates they have now and whatever increase we have, they have, and that differential pays the buy-in over 3 years. So they don't have to give us cash. If they do put it over 3 years, it's a 3% interest charge each year, but that's well worth it. Situate signed up. So here's Situate. I'm going to be what's public. They came in, they kept their rates. We went up. If you joined us last year, so we went up 6.75. They went up 6.75. Their other quote was 14, so they're already saving money. They're going to prepay in 3 years. They'll probably prepay in 2, and then they're going to see a decrease in their health insurance of 6.75. So they can't wait. They're debating whether to borrow or pay that off and have that increase because they can have the increase earlier, decrease earlier if they pay it off.
What about the stability of the trust fund? Because there have been a couple of group insurance purchase trusts over the state that have run into financial trouble in the last few years.
A bit tongue in cheek, I'm going to say they don't have me. But I think one of the challenges is they didn't foresee the high cost of health insurance that we foresaw back in 2014. So we built up our trust fund enough to begin to stabilize those rates. We also learned from a mistake we made, so we're far from perfect. For a number of years, we had zeros. So for a number of years, we gave out zeros for 4 years. And then we had an increase of 12%. Everybody forgot the 4 years, the 4 zeros, and complained about the 12%. And 3 groups ended up leaving us. And ironically, every single group that left us paid in year 1 $300,000 more for less insurance, but that's neither here nor there. They left us because they were able to convince people, oh, that 12% was horrible. Well, over 5 years, that was historically low. If you count 0, 0, 0, 0, 12, but they only looked at the 12, and we lost a few. Some of them are coming back since we were one of them. So I monitor that. We have a finance committee that's made up of our member units. I'm trying to think who's on the finance committee right now. If it's anybody, it was for a period of time, but I think it's somebody else now.
With Mr. Lee.
That guy, like he's on the steering committee, right? He's on the steering committee. He's the chair of the steering committee. The other thing we do is we have stakeholders on our team. So our team is made up of our member units, but we also have firefighters, teachers, and retirees represented. No other group does that. So that allows us to hear from them, hear their concerns, and makes us a better group, I think. So we're sitting right now. I just gave the Mayflower Group a report. We have between $24 and $26 million in reserve, and we're planning to use that to stabilize rates over the next 5 to 7 years
Without having to address benefits.
without having to address benefits. That unless something like GLP-1s could.
Have,
So we no longer cover
Okay.
GLP-1s as of July 1
okay.
for weight loss. We do cover them for diabetes and other things. We did adopt a bridge program, VERDA, so people that have them could get it and pay for it on their own at a reduced cost. So we didn't completely say you're off like they did in other joint purchase groups.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks.
When people retire, we keep paying their life insurance and health insurance.
The town does, yes. Yeah, that's off us.
What's a buy-in for Medicare A to B?
So we have a monthly, I don't have the rates in front of me. I don't know what it is for us. It's not a buy-in, that's what we charge. So we charge, and we have a Medicare Advantage plan and we have a Medicare plan. And it's through Blue Cross. So you can pick whichever one. It's up on our website, just go to benefits
Okay.
and you can see. We're pretty reasonably priced. I should know off the top of my head, you guys are asking me a lot of it, from pensions, OPEB,
No, that's-
and health insurance, right?
I just told you that.
You remember?
Remember what it was.
Ugh.
I know straight Medicare is 197, we'll get to 220.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what our medics is.
I think it's almost 300.
Yeah, I think so. For all in, I think so. But it's very
It
competitive.
was just under 3.
Yeah, so I think we went over 3. But again, all that's out there for people to look at. And we do offer the 2 providers, 132 and Blue Cross Blue Shield. A lot of communities are choosing one or the other. If you have some cost savings there, and sole source, but that's up to individuals for this. You don't.
Wait, 132, is that a name?
It's a new name for Harvard Community Health Care. They've gone with different names. Does anybody know why they're called 132? I didn't know this. There are 132 points in the compass. So I was told.
Greg, do you know, I can't see any hands if any.
I don't see any hands, but do folks online have questions?
Yeah, I have a question about the projections. I'm on the finance committee. I can chime
Yeah.
in. Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I was kind of looking over the numbers and the projections from, you guys hear me fine?
Yep.
Okay, great. From 2022 to 2024 on the assets, obviously they increased. It was pretty good returns there, but the liability jumped up like substantially. And looking at the unfunded liability, that jumped up like 21% from 22 to 24. Obviously, we don't have a new report coming out. That delta is pretty strong in the negative sense, but is that concerning right now? Like, and then also obviously the goal of FY 2031 or 32, we're still on track, but like, should that number come down in the next few years? Where are we like kind of tracking on that?
So we are going to have a new report for 1/1/26 in a couple months. And you'll see that. The reason for that increased liability is the assumptions we were using were not aggressive enough. So we assumed that payroll costs and raises would be less than they were that our member units gave. So when our member units did more for their employees than what we projected, it increased the liability. We have no control over that. The only thing we can control is our investment performance. The liability is the control of our members. And some members did more than others. You guys are probably right in the middle, so you weren't overly generous or overly punitive. You're right in the middle, but that's what increased the liability. It was the increased payroll costs of our member units. So that increased the liability. Obviously, if you're paying people more than you're projected to pay them, your liability is higher. The other factor we found is that communities were hiring people at the end of their career and assuming that pension liability. So if you have an employee that is 3 or 4 years away from retiring and they retire from you, you have that full liability. And so we didn't calculate that. We didn't think towns would be doing as much of that as they did.
Can you explain that a little bit more?
Sure.
So when does the pension vest, right? So you have to work a certain number of years to be able to collect your pension. Then there's a table, basically how many years and how old you are. So when does that pension vest? So the example you just gave, would that assume the person had years worked elsewhere that were creditable service and we just got them at the end?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So you're entirely correct. You need 20 years to vest. Oftentimes it's 32 to vest of 80%, 32 years of creditable service. Sometimes it's a little more. Obviously, it's less for group 4. So we're talking group 1 employees.
Yeah.
But you're entirely correct. If somebody's in a different system and they come, I don't want to say
Last year.
they come to Lakeville and they have 3 years left and they retire from Lakeville, that entire liability is ours.
Interesting.
Yes. So we expect some of that. But for whatever reason, Plymouth County particularly has seen more of that than other regional systems. And I don't know why that is. More people want to live in Plymouth County at the tail end of their career. There was a competition to pay more toward the end. I mean, it became very, see some of the higher paid positions. There was some competition to attract certain candidates. So communities felt they had to up that salary. And oftentimes those are people with a lot of experience for the end of the career. And so you're building that liability. We just, listen, oftentimes you're getting very good people that are very qualified and you're getting a huge value. We just want communities to understand there's a cost for that. And that cost comes out in the retirement side of things.
Is the vesting the same for the health insurance or is that?
No, you
Because
vest,
like at the state level, you vest in like a couple of different phases.
Yeah.
Is that the same here?
it's 10 years vested.
And at 20 years left pension.
Yeah, 20 years.
And if you leave before you vest, you pull your money.
You can, but we always advise people to leave it. And I can't tell you the number of times somebody will leave and they have 15 years. I'm never, ever, ever going to go back into public service. My boss was horrible. The public's awful. Nobody appreciates the hard work I do. I want my money. And I try to say, yeah, you feel that way now, but please leave your money in for a year or two unless you really, really need it, because you may want to come back. And invariably, after 2 years of doing something else, I'm like, oh, they want me back. I want to come back. So if they haven't taken the money out, they can stay in the system. They don't have to buy back. Oftentimes they have to pay a lot to come back in because you have to pay interest. And you also lose some of the advantages of having been an employee prior to certain dates where they've changed the rules. So 2 key dates are April 1st, 1996, and then 2012. They changed the rules again and have a different rubric for people after that.
Yeah, there's like a contribution ratio change too. So if you're
Yes.
grandfathered in.
Yes. You're asking a lot of fantastic questions. Do you live and eat and breathe this as much as I do?
I worked for the state in healthcare finance.
Oh,
So,
okay. Okay. Excellent. How are we doing down here in Plymouth County?
Good.
Yeah, thank you. We like to think even better than the state, but we're biased. Tease the state all the
Do I have other questions from folks?
I do
Yeah,
have a
right,
question,
you.
Madam Chair. Thank you so much for the explanation. I guess I'm curious to know the statement that you made with respect to hiring a more seasoned employee who may have like 3 years to go before he or she's fully vested. Is that on a full-time basis or is that contract based? Does that matter? And then if it does matter, I guess this is more food for thought for our town. And without knowing the details of how we've operated, at least in my tenure of being in town, these are things that we absolutely need to be considering, as we continue to operate as a town.
The short answer to your question is it's only for full-time employees.
Thank you.
Is that the shortest answer in election ever? Ask me one that can answer yes or no.
Sorry, I'm late. I thought it was 7.
Okay.
I'm early for 7, late for the meeting. I have three really quick questions.
Okay.
I've reviewed this a number of times over the years. Is Bridgewater up to date on all of our payments for OPEB, pension, et cetera?
Yes,
Okay. Are we gonna meet our deadline of whatever it is, 31?
we had to extend to 2032.
Okay. And I didn't see any major issues. Are there any major issues? So you probably talked about this and I'll get notes from somebody else afterwards.
I did. There were no major issues.
Okay.
Bridgewater's doing pretty well in terms of keeping their finances under control, especially compared to some of the surrounding communities. You're in pretty good shape. You're fortunate to be part of the Mayflower Group because that's been a godsend, particularly as other folks not in are seeing 12, 14, 15% increases. So the only suggestion is you could pre-fund pension if you wanted to and do that in December. You could always contribute more to your OPEB trust. It's only if you have cash available. But I would do pension first before OPEB. Because if we get to the pension end of line 2032, then you free up money to put into OPEB.
So this
is into the, line into the local.
It was, and a real credit to, I know Sandy was a big advocate for Bridgewater.
Yeah.
We actually challenged the commissioners to get their own community to take advantage of some of the programs we offered. And so we met with Mr. Dutton and who was the previous treasurer?
outsourcing, you mean?
No, the treasurer, because he needed a decision of the council, the manager, and the treasurer to join. You guys.
Yeah.
See it to join Pecan.
Oh, yeah, Scott Boyce.
Okay, yes. Yeah, yeah.
And I was on the council at the time we did it.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, you missed the presentation where I said you've earned 16.99%.
It was probably Scott. Yeah,
Yeah,
I said,
I think it probably was.
Yeah.
So this is health insurance. Is this cover disability insurance?
No,
So we pay for that too?
you do. That's separate. We don't do that. So the town, nope, the town, I don't know what the town.
Okay. So we have to go, but you guys can stay because we had a.
Well, I'll only stay if you want me to stay.
Well, you got finance committee.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
You have.
Do members of the committee have other questions?
I'll make a motion to adjourn our budget and finance committee. Second.
All in favor?
I.
Aye. We had an emergency.
No worries, you
So I'm really
explain.
sorry.
No, don't apologize. If you would like, and you want more time, I'm happy to come and talk about any of these
This is
things.
really, I mean, it helped me a lot.
Yeah,
Just all the information you guys gave me is really.
yeah.
And that's
You made
because
it
you
simpler.
went to our advisory
Yeah.
meeting that
Yep.
night.
Well, when you were talking at that, I'm thinking, you knew so much, I was like, I'm not getting it.
Well, I've been around for a long time.
I know, but you were at your meeting and I was just watching it, so.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, no, thank you for inviting me.
So now I'm meeting starting at 7 p.m.
That's all right. Go work out.
I have 7 in my bloodstream.
You have a lot of
12 years.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
God bless you.
The more questions, the better.
All right, do we have more questions from folks?
Quick question, Madam Chair. The documents that were handed out, are they different than what was emailed to us?
No,
Just the
Is it-
balance of.
no. I think maybe one was different, but I'll make sure it gets sent around.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, the rest were just individual sheets off of the larger reports we were sent.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Anything else from folks?
How long did you work with the state?
13
So-
years.
Oh, you're still there with them?
No, I'm in a quasi now.
Ah, okay. Oh.
Uh,
Good for you.
do we want to adjourn our meeting?
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Okay,
I'll second that. So here.
wonderful. Do we need a roll call or can we just?
Yeah, I
Did
can
they
do a roll
suspend
call
the
real
rules?
quick.
Okay, sure.
Dana,
Yes.
Rig,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Pete,
Yes.
Bill.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion was approved. Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you so
Wonderful.
much,
Thanks a lot.
everyone. Thank you. Yep. Bye.